Okay, Mohit, we are live. All yours.
Um, Hi everyone. Mohit Manuja. I am a music composer, producer, engineer, a lot of things. Sorry, we got a little late to come live on the session. Uh, Time, and we can directly start off with something on Cubase. Let me. So this is Cubase Pro 10.5. They just 11 last year, Christmas. I haven't upgraded yet because I'm waiting for a little bug free, and then I'll basically upgrade my Cubase. Uh, so this is a blank session, and I guess we can. I'll just show you around how Cubase works, and just like any other interface, almost interface has almost similar features. Everything is the same. Working and maybe the placement of tools and stuff like that is different. But features and functions are almost same in all of the DAWs. Uh, but I have been using Cubase for a very long time now. Years, more than 5 7 years. So I've got table. That's why I prefer creating music on this only. Uh, okay, let us create a new audio track. You go to this panel and right click, and you have a lot of options like adding track or an instrument track, MIDI sampler, effects channel, group channel, um, and a lot more other options. Let's add two instrument channels. And, see if we can create something out of it. So this is the plugin Halion Sonic SE, which comes along with Cubase, light version of the original and Halion Sonic both. So there are three categories, and this the SE version is a limited version which comes free with the DAW. Um, we can probably select any one of those guitars and try out some sounds. Right? Mm. Okay. I'll use this one. Once you can like simply right click on the editor panel, and there are a couple of options. One is the object selection. There's a range selection. There's a draw panel. There's a erase button, split, and other similar features that you'll find on various DAWs. I'll quickly select the draw button and open it. Let us draw some MIDI notes. Draw simple chord. So there's this shortcut I uh, preferably use, which is a command D, to duplicate all the MIDI selection. Even you can use command D and so guys, if you have any questions in base, or if you would like to ask me something, just it on, just drop a comment, and in the end we'll basically Q&A and answer those. Uh, I can simply select the MIDI notes, and I can drag them with an up or down arrow on my keyboard, and I am basically drawing a simple and basic chord pattern just to show you how. It was C, F, G, and C. Let us make this a little more. So see, I need to shift the octave for this note, the MIDI note that I'm using here. It's an E, and uh, I'll simply press shift and down arrow. I can simply shift the octave of the note and a little more maybe, just to change the voicing of the chord. So the instrument is guitar, which is not made for such sounds, but I'll tell you, uh, uh, there are two ideologies while producing music. One goes is that if you are using a violin, use it like a violin. If you're using a cello, use it like a cello, or maybe other instruments as well. If you're using a guitar, use it like a guitar, how a guitar plays, how an actual guitar plays, and you use the same sound or maybe the same techniques of a guitar. Uh, and there's this other ideology to tweak around with sounds and uh, use sounds for different purposes altogether, and not just the how they are supposed to sound. So like there's a guitar, and I plugged a guitar, and I'm using it sort of, I'm programming it in a way how pads work, or maybe how background strings work. So but then again, I'll probably process the sound and tweak it and make it sound like a pad. So these are two ideologies that usually people use uh, for production. Okay, I can simply right click on the channel and uh, duplicate the track however I want to, and let's play around with this a little bit. So if you see this drop down arrow, this is basically where all the automation happens. If you are familiar with automations, you can basically make the sounds uh, more realistic in a way, and you can even play around with automations. Uh, let's do a simple volume automation, and so there's a pencil tool which comes up. I can draw some automations. I can even create them from a um, third party hardware, a MIDI controller or something like that. Uh, you can bend these. these are some ideas to create automations, and you can uh, do a lot of modifications here. Let's create an audio track, and I'll just briefly explain how you can edit the audios. So I'll draw an empty audio clip. Um this is my scissor tool, and I can basically chop off. I use these tools a lot. So I can an audio clip that we are using. I simply put some color on it. So this is the color panel. You can customize it as per your requirements, as per how you like the colors. Uh, this is the left side corner, extreme left corner is to trim from the front side. If you want to trim some vocals from the front side, you can trim it from here. The right side corner, below corner, bottom corner is for trimming again from the end of the clip. And there are other options as well. There is this, the center button will basically help you to create duplicates of the file. Like if for say this is a kick that I'm using and I want, or maybe a hi-hat that I'm using and I want it to be repetitive, I can simply drag it and I'll have all the hi-hats here. So for more clarity of Cubase, let's I'll quickly open up a session of mine. I'll just copy the file here. There are various snap modes as well, which I most preferably use is a grid snap mode, which basically helps my tracks to be on grid with the BPM and everything, with the metronome that my song is on. So I don't uh, miss out on timings and stuff like that. And then in the under the grid mode, there are various options. The bar is a default mode, which strictly you can only move your file from bar to bar, nowhere in between. But I prefer the adapt to zoom mode. As I zoom my session, I have more smaller bars that I can move my files to. But again, this will all be on grid, so I won't miss the metronome. But there are sometimes there are some cases when you want to like have that fluctuation of, you don't want your clips to be on bar exactly, especially when you're scoring for projects. So again, there are two ways to do it. uh, you can simply let these settings be, and simply like while you're moving your clips, you can press control and you have the flexibility to move it wherever you wish to, and keep it wherever you wish to. You can leave the command. And also there's this option called events. So even this helps you to move it however move the clips however you want it. And let's uh, there are a few more, like there's grid relative, there's shuffle, cursor, but these are my preferential settings that I like to work on. And so my session is copied. Let me open. So this is a song called Bestie that I released last year. It's an independent single. Uh, I have 11 elements. Elements version. So this is a session that I send for mixing. I for mixes and stuff, I prefer sending up my sessions directly to the engineer rather than exporting the files, because again, the more you export the files, the more it is bad for your content. I prefer if till like if my files stay inside the same session till the final master out. Uh, that that is what I prefer. So I've asked my engineer used to mix on Logic, but just because of me, he started mixing up on Cubase, and now I just directly send my sessions, and it's easier for him as well to figure out what things are where, and it's all arranged in a manner that becomes easy for him to directly start on the mix and not waste time on editing and sorting out the material uh, and especially naming things and grouping things. It's all in place, and also if I'm not sure if yeah, so I also balance the my stems as per the sound I wish to have, and but I give my engineer privilege to like tweak around with it, because this is just a rough idea of how I want the sound, how I want the song to sound. And okay, so let's start away with a couple of guitars. So Shomu Silda is a very popular guitarist in the industry, and he plays with Sunidhi Chauhan. He plays with infinite artists. Like he has recorded so many songs, and all the top charting songs, all the successful, super successful songs have guitars played by him. And so we asked him to play around with our song as well, and I'll quickly show you how I've layered how the guitars are layered basically. Uh, let's start with two basic rhythm tracks. Also, I make sure that I have options. First of all, I have options for everything I record, because I love to uh, sit around with the options and comp it. There's a term called comping, which basically means finding out the right takes from the right options and like clubbing it all together. And I love to comp around either it's vocal or maybe guitars. Or I love to have options, and for layers, I would always prefer that I have like if I'm dubbing guitars, I would like to have like a lot of guitar layers and then edit around, like if I want to use this part in this place and that part in that place. So I like to shuffle a lot of things, and uh, in the post production process after the recording is done. So this is the rhythm channel. These are DTs, which are hard left and right band, and we have two arpeggios going around with it. Again, it's on the same flavor, it's on the same taste with the rhythm, but slightly different. And we have some strums going on here. And then we have some mutes. guitar parts are layered, and then I have a couple of more elements as well on guitars itself. This is a intro filling sort of thing. Then I have more fillers again. These are harmonized fillers. So tiny tiny fillers that come around behind the vocals, and then we have the same sort of riff played a little differently. There are some harmonics. And there's the last. I have a very nice solo by Shomuda. Let's move on to the melodies, the additional melodies that were there in the song. So there's a whistle that one of my studio interns played around, and of course I had to basically do a lot of pitch correction and stuff because he wasn't a professional whistle player. So we just he popped in with an idea that we should add some whistles here, and I asked him to do the honors, and it just happened like that. So making a song is a very uh, again it's a very contributional process, as in uh, contributions by if you have a team, uh, the song will sound better by any means, because like there are two or three brains or maybe more, they're working all together to make the sound, to make the song better, and to add on ideas, and then there's this debate going on, okay, this is sounding good and this is not sounding good. So it all adds up eventually to make the song more enhanced after all. Then there's an EP that I programmed. So when I was producing this song, the idea I had in mind was to keep it very light and minimal. I didn't want to uh, produce it a lot. I wanted to keep it very minimal and light and not sound very commercial in terms of production. So these are just little bit of elements that I added to bring in more feel to the track, and that's it. Then I have some. So for EP, I prefer using Trillion. Sorry, Keyscape. I use Keyscape for EPs and pianos, and for basses, I use Trillion. Uh, so so this is a filler that I filled in. I played this on a bass guitar because I wanted the sound to be like a guitar, an electric guitar sort of, but a little thick and not very thin. So I quickly opened up a bass guitar and started playing it on the higher octave, and sort of uh, I was done with it. Okay, and what do we have here? Cool. So these are just bells for fillers. Again, all of these elements are there to add more feel to the track, and that's it. Not to make it sound produced and stuff like that. The main elementation of of the song is the guitar and the vocal. All other stuff is there to just bring in more feel. So there's one more EP. It's Then there's a trillion bass guitar on the song. Again, keeping it very simple and minimalistic. Again, a lot of you might have more ideas with the song. Okay, you could have done this and that, and that's all fair. I believe again the production of a song is a very personal approach to the song. Like if I have been given with I have been given a composition and I've been asked to produce it, I'll totally produce it with the ideas that pop up in my mind on the first instance. Uh, uh, of course, there are add-ons and stuff like that. Nowadays, a lot of additional producers come in and add more to the song and stuff like that happens. That happens all the time. But uh, every music producer or arranger will do it by their own approach, by their own idea. I could have played around with the bass guitar a lot and like added some nice licks and stuff like that. But I intentionally wanted to keep it very simple and minimalistic. That was my idea of the song basically. Then after, so we have reached the rhythms now, and after the rhythms, we'll probably move on to the vocal part. Okay. Uh, so initially, in the first half of song, which is like 1 minute and 30 seconds, it's just shakers, nothing else. It's just clean shakers, slightly edited to make it drop on time and stuff like that. And rhythm starts only when I have the first part of the song is over and the M1 is coming in, and that's where I start my rhythm on the song. And it has a couple of toms and hi hats. So these are open hats, tom, and a cymbal. Uh, I have a kick and snaps going on. This is a very you need to make sure that you use sound samples or you create samples or sounds as per the zone of the song as well. Like it won't make any sense if you are producing a very acoustic sort of song and you use a very hard kick on it. It just won't make sense. It just won't gel in. So you need to make sure that if you are doing a song which has more acoustic flavor, more lively flavor, more unplugged sort of flavor, then the kit has to be very acoustic. It should sound like a kick of a drum kit and stuff like that to make it gel in very conveniently. Then there is a I found a loop on Contact. It was a sample of some jazz hi hat. I chopped in and edited it a bit to make it fill in on my track. I'll just play the entire part out together. Again, we are back to shakers, and then in the later part, we come back to the kit. So I've used a lot of samples here and tweaked them and just to give the track that grooviness, the groovy vibe that it was supposed to have. I'll just mute the vocals first. And, this is all samples edited in a way that fit my song, and also make sure that any samples that you use are not just downloaded from the internet, but you actually buy them and then use it to basically save yourself from any copyright complications that you might fall in a later part. So always, if you like a sound, make sure that you buy the entire pack, or you can simply use Splice from where you can like download individual samples, and uh, but please avoid piracy. And again, the primary reason is because uh, in future, like if you get stuck in a copyright complication, uh, you'll have the proof that you actually bought the license to use these samples, and then you publish the tracks so that you are on a safer side altogether. Uh, uh, we did uh, record a couple of harmonies for this song, not many, very minimal, but a lot of them we also removed while mixing, because after the mix was done, I wasn't liking the harmonies that much, or the place they were taking that much, so I got them removed. So these are all my vocals. I just harmonies were not a part of the song initially, but while I was producing it, I felt the need that we can add slight harmonies, vocal harmonies to the track, and then I just simply picked up my SM58 and started recording back to back, and then combed it and edited in a way that it fits my song. Also, I am calling them harmonies, but there are a lot of them are not actually harmonies to the original vocal. These are uh, counter melodies, or some of them call them contra melodies as well. So these are melodies, different melodies from what the original melody is, and but they go hand in hand with the original melody. So it adds more flavor and spread to the vocal part. So if I play the vocal for you and just mute all rest other things. Uh,
ये तेरा बार बार बेवजह मुझे सताना
This is not harmonies. A lot of takes are not harmonies, but these are counter melodies that add up to the original vocal melody.
उठ जाऊं मैं तो स्वीटली मुझे मनाना छत
Okay. Uh, let's see what we add.
तू मेरा बेस्टी मैं तेरा बेस्टी ही कितनी औसम है तेरी मेरी दोस्ती हाँ
The vocals are pretty simple in this one. So we have two hummings, which are DTs. DT as in double takes, and nowadays you can have like 3 Ts and 4 Ts and 5 Ts as much as you want, and like make the sound more spread and wider. So these are left right band extremely. Then there are simple vocals. Vocal processing is a different game altogether. We'll probably need a different session to sit on the vocals and process it. I can show it to you guys how I prefer processing the vocals. Um, Again, you'll feel I haven't added any effects to the track. So this is a session that was exported for the mix engineer. So I sometimes I keep my effects on while I'm sending it to the engineer. Sometimes I don't keep it, and I'll just remove all the sends which are there to the FX plugins. So I'll just make it very dry and sort of. Okay. So this was Bestie, an independent track of mine. Um, Let me show you another song which has way more stems and layers. I'll just quickly copy it to the desktop. Did we miss something here? Since the files are getting copied, I'll so there are a couple of tools that we have in Cubase which seem to be very exciting. As in, you might have those tools on your, if you prefer some other DAWs, you might have those tools on them as well. And nowadays, a lot of third-party plugins are also there with the same tools. So, in that way, things are very convenient. But uh, again, it depends on the processing also how other third party plugins process that same technique. For pitch correction, if you ask me, uh, I prefer two methods, and the first method is to basically edit the vocals via Vari Audio, which is a inbuilt Cubase setting. So how do you go there? But Vari Audio is available, I guess, in the artist and pro version only, not in the elements version. So you just simply click on the double click on the audio clip, and there's a new window altogether. You can like go to your Vari Audio setting and select on edit Vari Audio. It's analyzing the audio files now. Okay. So this is the entire vocal in the form of a MIDI sort of arrangement, and you can basically tweak your vocals. So this is enable and disable the feedback of the notes. So you can play around and maybe correct the notes. There are options to straighten the curve. So if you can observe this curve, it's you can shift format as well, and you can like break it into parts. You can sometimes the singers sings the tail very short, but it is supposed to be longer. So you can basically walk and stretch it out here as well. So a lot of things are doable in Vari Audio. And the second method, so I don't use it separately. I use both the methods together after correcting the tiny nuances on my Vari Audio thing. I then apply auto tune layer, not to tune the vocals, but I like that auto tune plugin gives a very unique tonality it adds a very unique tonality to your vocals altogether. And I have become a fan of that tonality. So I prefer using it on my sounds. These are all corrected vocals, however, so there's no point adding anything here. Let's go to the other session. Uh, just one wait. uh, Guys, keep on posting questions if you have any, and we'll be answering those in a while, I guess.
So, hi Mohit. Probably till the time it opens up, there's one question actually come in.
Okay.
So you can answer that really short. So
Uh-huh.
students asking, you're showing both recordings and you're doing both the electronic work in Cubase. So is it like an all-rounder, or you just prefer using this for everything?
I prefer using it for everything. Like I do EDM music as well on the same DAW. I do uh, recordings as well on the same DAW. I program on the same. We've done like film sound on the same, scoring on the same. Uh, we've recorded Foley and voice dubbings and a lot. So this is my go-to DAW for everything, basically.
All right, thanks Mohit.
Yeah. So this is a big session. Um this song is called Nari Hu, which was released last year on Z Music, and it was a collaboration of us being the composers, and there were four different female singers who came on board to sing the track, and I'll just import a few more stems which was sent to the engineer separately. Just hold on. So I can simply drag and drop to the session, but make sure that you convert the files as per your session. So what I prefer doing is, as soon as I import something to my session, I quickly select all the files and right click, and there's this option called group channel to selected channels. So basically it will group all of these imported tracks, and then I can basically reduce the levels, and then after doing this I sort of balance it more further. But like if I'm putting it in just for preview purposes, so I'll just quickly drop down the levels so that it doesn't like uh, disturb me in the creative place. I'll also move selected tracks to a new folder. I can like mute unmute it altogether, close the folder. I will just, so there is an option called disable track. I use this a lot, especially if I've processed something and it has like 2 or 3 plugins or even maybe more. uh, I render the file with all the plugins and everything after I'm sure that this is the sound how I want it. And after rendering the audio file, I simply uh, go to disable the track, the original track, and I just preview the rendered file so that it saves a lot of space on your system. It saves a lot of processing power, and like it basically helps the project to run a little smoother. So there are two layers, two folders. One is the rhythm folder, which has all other rhythms, and one is the drums folder, which has the acoustic kit. Okay. So there were four singers in the session. One was Savani Ravindra, Sumedha Karmai, there was Bhavya Pandit and Pavni Pandey. We'll come to the vocals later. Let's start with harmonies. Okay. If you see, this is also a session that was sent to my engineer for mixing. So make sure that your sessions are color coded clearly and named clearly so that the engineer saves a lot of time editing and sorting it out, and he can directly jump to the mix part. I keep it a lot edited as well. I prefer cutting out the breaths or reducing their levels. I prefer doing it all by myself so that there's clarity of thoughts how I want the sound. Uh, okay, so we have some pianos here. Okay, just a second. It's taking. Glitches. Mm, okay, start. Cubase again. Oh, let me start the session again. Are there any other questions, guys? How many Cubase users are there? Like, or has anyone tried Cubase using Cubase? This guy. So I'm currently on my Mac system, my MacBook Pro, and it's gotten a little old now. Um, so Cubase gives me trouble on my Mac. I prefer working on my Windows system. I totally prefer that. Let's see. I guess we are having glitches again. So these are hybrid piano sounds again from Keyscape. This was the intro of the track. Then I have one more piano going on here. So this piano is a chord that is following the intro, but you can see the level I've kept it so that it just adds more feel to the track and not uh, maybe like be upfront and just in the background. And there's one EP as well following the same style. I'm not sure why it's buffering so much. Uh, then there's one more piano in the middle of the track. So these are just simple chords going around. Um, some more EP. EP is electric pianos. Uh, uh, so this is a riff that is going on in the guitar, basically the acoustic guitars that I'll show you in some time. So EP is just at this particular section. My EP is just following the guitars. Then I have some more EPs, which are I guess simple chords going on. And some pads, simple pads. We have here just some simple effects giving more feel to the track. Uh, then we have some synth sounds. It's an arpeggio, again a filler, again another arpeggio, a third one. So if, if you can see the pattern, how I've placed these arpeggios, we have some just a riff of a synth going on, and then there's a synth melody. Oh, this is again arpeggio. We have one more arpeggio in this section. And there's a this section is filled with a lot of arpeggios. And what is that? That is I've used Massive, I've used Omnisphere, I've used other synthesizers. And what do we have here? These are all arps going on. Then we have some plucks uh, plugs, and again these are all filler plugs. These are not leads or main leads. These are all just for feel, just adding more feel to the track, and it's all there. Like you can actually listen to a lot of these elements in the background and stuff like that. Then we have more synth sounds. What is that? This is a random rhythm effects, which is panned. A nylon guitar, a dip sound played on Serum. Serum again, I love that synth. Uh, we have, so these are the same melodies. One is going up on a higher octave, and the other one is on a lower octave. And um, then we have a harmonium section. We have string runs. So these are string runs from three different contact libraries, and I've clubbed them all. Then we have some background strings as well. Just to add more feel to the track. Then we have Dilruba and Sarangis. Again, these are fillers. I programmed a couple of them with my Rolly C board, uh, uh, and a couple of them are samples. So I've clubbed all of them and made my own melodies from these samples. So these are also panned because I these are not main melodies. These are very much in the background, and I wanted them to use the space which is back there and not the space which is in front, because we have these are some fillers only, and we have the main guitars coming up right there, and they take hell lot of space. So now I have some live flutes that a friend of mine recorded. Um, okay, so this is a solo part. Um, some more flutes and some more flutes and a last filler. I also prefer keeping it all segregated, um, very much separate, so that my engineer basically knows what what element is planned for what activity in the song. Otherwise, maybe if I just keep a single layer of the flute and all of it is piled up on the same layer, the lead flute, the backings, the everything, so my engineer won't know basically what elements are supposed to be in the backing, or else I'll have to maybe sit down and send him a long list of items that this is for background. Even that is a way of working. But I prefer that I name it, I name the stuff then and there, and like I've named it flute fills. So he knows ki, okay, this is just a filler, this is not, this is a solo, and everything is separate, so that he knows he can easily uh, maybe manipulate the volumes and placements, because it's all separate and he doesn't need to waste time on figuring out what's what and what's uh, not for the primary thing. Okay, so I have like we have so many guitars. There are some guitar parts that a friend of mine recorded in Mumbai. Um, let's start one by one. Okay, so okay, these are plugs. And there are more plugs. Then more. As the song progresses, like these plugs are there in the start of the track, right? So as the song progresses, uh, as I clear like 2 bars or 4 bars, I keep on adding more layers to the plugs to make, to give it more depth. But again, these plugs are not the same every time. It's a slightly different element to the track. Okay. Now we move on to some strums. So there were strums, there are simple arpeggios, and then there are muted acoustic guitars. Then we have, so the the main solo of this song was based on flute. So what my friend has done is he has played a guitar melody as well, accompanying the flute. It's sort of a solo, but it is there for accompaniment. And then there we have various plugs and arpeggios playing different harmonies of the same chord notations, so that it all adds up and makes the sound more wider and thicker. Okay, so when we have strums, so that's how my acoustic guitars are going. Um, then we have some electric guitars that I had played in the track, and then there are more electric guitars that were played by my friend. So these were played by. So again, plugs and fillers and a lot of other stuff going on. Then some more electric guitars. These were clean guitars by my friend. Yes. Then some distortion guitars and But again, distorted guitars were not a primary element. I didn't want them to be a primary element. I wanted these just to add some flavor to the track, some saturation to the track, but with some various different melodies going on. Now let's come to so these were the harmonies and guitar parts and the flute parts. Let's come to the rhythm section. So rhythms, there are two sets. One is general rhythm, the other one is an acoustic kit. Let's see what we have here. Some minors and shakers, effects and grooves happening. Always make sure that whenever you produce a track, you have that element of change every now and then. Like things do keep changing, or if not changing, but you keep on adding a new element in every while, in every like four bars or 8 bars, however you, depending on the song. But but there has something you keep adding something new for the listeners, so that like even it happens with me when I listen to Rahman or maybe Amit Trivedi, and there are things that I spot. I figure out, oh, this is there as well in the song. I couldn't spot earlier, but like after listening to the track like 30 times, and that too on general, not by like and sitting and analyzing. Okay, what all here, but as a general listening session, after 30 or 40 times, randomly it pops up. We have a tabla fill there, or so you need to have that surprise elementation in your track as well for your listeners to basically stick to it. Then we have some more percussions. So these are just claps chopped and edited. These are some of the samples. Uh, so the song is on 7 by 8 meter. So usually you don't get samples which are on 7 by 8 meter. So you need to like chop them off and design it as per the meter of your song. We have some more rhythm samples. So, I mean, you have to design these. Some of them are recorded live. The tablas are live. The other rhythms are all some are extracted from samples. It's all a combined process for me. On a personal level, tweaking the samples and somehow fitting them in my tracks. I love recording. All of my songs almost have a lot of elements which are done live, so that you have human touch to the track as well. I guess we just lost power, but we should be able to like carry on. Uh, some are, some stuff is programmed as well. So I prefer personal on a personal level. I using all of it and clubbing it to my track. Then we have some drums. So I have three kick sounds. One is a very soft one, which is very very less with low ends and more with the top part. And then we have this one which has more of, so one of these kicks is from SD library, contact library, Stevens led drums, and the rest of are also from SSD, snares and cymbals and toms and everything. So the drums are all programmed, and then we have the bass, which is a trillion bass. Uh, we were supposed to record the bass live, but at the last moment we just couldn't. So we went with the programmed one itself. So let me mute the vocal and play everything else so that you get an idea of how. Then we have the huge chorus part also. Like I'll come to that as well. It's lagging a lot. It's coming. Okay. Let's go to the chorus part if you are interested. So we basically had four very very talented singers, not four but six very very talented artists, and all were female artists because I wanted, like, since this was a Women's Day song, and I basically wanted a lot of women to participate in the track and give their contribution. It talks about the power of um, women basically. So let's see what we have. And these are all multiple takes of the same part. Like I've recorded the same parts for around 8 times or 4 times, and then edited and like, chopped off and jumbled it up and created new variations basically. मुझसे ही संसार तारा हूँ सहारा. Then we have, and I've kept all the choruses separate for the engineer to have a clear idea of which part needs to be more powerful, which part needs to be more softer, and he can basically easily cut with a very much with a lot of convenience. He can like edit and mix all of these. मैं यारी हूँ, जिम्मेदारी हूँ, मैं नारी हूँ, मैं जिम्मेदारी हूँ, मैं नारी हूँ. Let's go to the other part. There's a huge chorus in the last, and I just love that. And we came up with that on the spot. Like while the song was ending, I was getting that feeling that I need a chorus ending here, and we hadn't composed or written any lyrics for that part. So while the singers were taking a break and chilling out, I just sat down and I like started writing and start thinking of ideas. Even the singers jumped in that you can do like this and that, and that's the power of a collaboration. You know, whenever you produce a song, make sure that you have people working on the track with you, because a lot of new ideas pop in, a lot of new variations, and like the dimensions of the song just open up, because there are things that you hadn't thought of earlier which may sound good, and then if a contributor or a collaborator pops in with these ideas, your song gets better after all. So some of these are harmonies, some of these are counter melodies. And let me play the last bit, the, my favorite part from the whole song. Okay. Hmm. Okay, so let's play it with the track. Okay, you guys need to listen to the final track to realize how good this the chorus part sounds with the entire song. Let's come to the last part of this song, which is the lead vocals. There's nothing much here. Basically, what we did was we recorded the whole track with all of the four singers, and then I took my own sweet little time and decided which part do I need. I basically created three different variations of uh, collaborations, like there are four singers, so singer 1, 2, 3, 4, then singer 4, 2, 3, 1, and sort of I did some permutations and combinations, and then uh, this was the list that was finalized. So we have Samni, Sumeda, and Bhavya, and Pavni, and sorry. Why is that happening? Okay, what did you? I need to switch this off.
दो पल की है मेरी कहानी जिसमें तो जिंदगानी कुछ तो सोचा होगा खुदा ने भेजा है मुझको जो इस जहां चल की छाव हो या राखी यार सात जन्मों का रिश्ता हो
So this is how the sequence went. Of course, I did a lot of vocal editing, not in terms of pitch, because these singers are like pitch perfect. I use auto tuner just to get that tone of. In a little while back, I explained that I like that tonality that an auto tune plugin creates. So I wanted that tonality. I use it for almost all of my songs. So I used auto tuner for that, but all of these singers were so pitch perfect that I didn't require to correct any pitch. But of course, I did comping, like figuring out the best takes of the best artists, and then finalizing which order I need to bring in the artist, and then cleaning out the breaths, and maybe warping a little bit, some tails and stuff like that. So there was slight vocal editing, not much, because if there's a good performer, uh, the workload of the producer or the engineer like reduces to a great extent. If the performer is good, if the musician is good, then it becomes very convenient to work on a track. It takes very less time, and you can utilize that time on more creative uh, aspects rather than just cleaning up and making things right. So this was Nari Ho, which was released last March, I guess, right before the lockdown, a week before the lockdown happened. So this was Nari Ho, and we'll probably maybe in the coming upcoming time we'll plan vocal production live session as well, or something similar on similar notes with me or maybe a guest faculty. um, uh, we'll plan it out. Thanks for having me, guys. Are there any questions around, Roger? Do we have questions?
Yeah, Mohit, there's one question.
Okay.
So this one student has asked how you approached recording so many vocalists together, and how did you manage to isolate them individually?
So basically, all of these singers are industry-based professional singers who have been recording and doing live gigs and everything. So, like when I came up with the idea that I need so many, they were supposed to be a lot more female singers, but we couldn't manage the time. They were touring. They had other work already in the timeline, and but thankfully these four singers managed the time to come up and uh, record for us. All of them recorded very separately. None of the session was done at the same time at the same place. uh, Someone recorded on Monday, the other singer came up on maybe Thursday and recorded her bit. So it took a while to get all the vocals done, but it happened. I'm very thankful to the singers like to come up and collaborate on the song with us for this one especially, because it was a special track as well. It was uh, my first independent release of 2020, so I wanted to uh, make it sound. I wanted to make it special for me. Yeah. Okay. Any more
That's great,
questions?
Mohit.
Thank you.
Mohit, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for the students who are playing around with live music and who are doing their electronic stuff together?
Uh, uh, See, I'll tell you, everyone will give you the similar advices, and that's the basically the right way to do it. Uh, you need to work hard. You need to listen to more good music. You need to explore your sounds. I meet a lot of people who are very genre specific and who just hate other genres, and it's so bad. I mean, it shouldn't be the case. Even if you like a particular genre, even if you prefer that you like metal music or you like maybe electronic music, you should be open to the idea of at least listening to other styles of music as well, because there is always something to learn from every soundtrack you listen. So one should be open to the ideas, and uh, again keep making better music. You need to, even I used to make shitty music back then, like if you go like 7 years back, 6 years back, but it takes time, and you need to keep working on your skills to better your sound, better take advices from people, meet new engineers, meet up with, have a word with new music producers, have a word with new musicians and speak to them, play your tracks to them and take feedbacks and work on those feedbacks. So that's how you learn. It's all practical based. After you've learned the basics clear, after your basics are clear, then you just need to take effort and learn more and
All right, Mohit.
more.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
spending these hours with our students.
Thank you.
So, hope they enjoy the workshop and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Roger.
Thank you.
Bye.